as strongly as we do about the change that is needed. And I think it's really easy to get really overwhelmed and feel really angry and want to give up. And I think that that is like the last fucking thing we should do right now. And I believe that a new world is possible if we are all very open to the way that we might have to get there. But if you want to stay angry, then you can get it out with me right now. There being lots of men in power who do really hurtful things to people. We all grew up in really small rural towns outside of Lansing. I grew up in Leslie, Charlotte, and Potterville, so you can imagine our politics were a little bit isolating, but my family was always really accepting and always voted with their lunchbox. We were a union family. And we were a very blue-collar band.
the American flag is because this is a Bernie Sanders rally. The warm-up for the rally. Is it? Still got like 13 minutes. No. America. Alright. So much time to kill. It's alright though. We'll make it through. Still have like 13 or so minutes. Then the big man, well, actually, speaker people, not like guest speaker people first, and then Bernie. But, you know, it'll be fine. We'll work it all out. America. Hope y'all are doing well. But yes, scrambled eggs is fried chicken. That's true, Alex. We're speaking some truth. I'll be speaking some truth. Yeah. Was it supposed to be just Bernie speaking, or was it like other people speaking too?
Bernie and Al. Yo, who?
Yeah.
Just those two, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I didn't expect a full band, you know, but here we are. Yeah. Can't wait for Bernie. Well, one of these times, it would be nice to go to one of these events and have everything just be like bam, 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 and then we're done. Well, actually, no, Jordan Klepper. I remember that event being very, like, bam, bam, we're done. I remember a lot of lollygagging there. That was in here too, actually. Fight the Oligarchy. Zoom this in. Oh, I can zoom this in. Nice. Fight the Oligarchy. So I'm sympathetic towards the message. Very sympathetic. Yeah, there too. Put him off face for now. I guess. Yeah, we can always just do this. It doesn't matter. It don't matter. Events and all sorts of music, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, wait for that. Yep. 6 people. I'm gonna start using this more. Forget about Twitch. I know they said 7, but they can't start early one of these times. The old. This to me is ridiculous that so many of us have been here for like 2 hours plus. Like, well, since 4:30. That's ridiculous, and I'm sure there are people here waiting longer. I've not seen that road sign in a long time. Tennessee. So I was trying to do a funny face. Just be that guy. Ooh, lights. Yeah. Twitch doesn't even do lights. I even can't even make that comparison. Twitch doesn't even do lights. You don't even do gaming content. Well, I should say no, like this, but lies. But even then, like, I don't know. I was thinking about it. I've done like reactions and stuff like that, so. But, yeah, I might even do something like that here, maybe. I don't know. But I think YouTube might have to be allowed. My understanding it's high quality too, so so all the kids are always like Twitch. I mean, obviously multi-streaming, but that costs money and or good CPU knowledge you guys don't currently have. Almost. There's 4 minutes till burning. 4 minutes till burning. There it is. Fight the oligarchy. Be patient. Burn is almost there. Back to me for now. How y'all doing? Let me know. Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, hope y'all are doing well. That's been almost a few minutes. Doing that whole waiting, sitting and waiting. That was a pretty random thing to have happen though, having a rock band warm up for a rally like that. I don't think I've ever seen a rally like that. Gotta say. That was really cool though. They're not even bad. They're an actual right band. I'm in all sorts of random rallies. Republicans never do anything that cool. Whether you love them or hate them, it's the truth. Terrible. Well, we waiting. We waiting. About to happen. But knowing how these things are, it's probably a few minutes late. Although I'll be impressed if I'm like right on time. I'd be really impressed. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. With the Michigan flag over it. Okay.
How are you feeling, Kalamazoo? Who's ready to fight some oligarchy? Who's ready to fight some oligarchy? Kicking off the speaking program this evening, she has been a registered nurse for more than 10 years.
Thank you for the mini guest speaker. Look at how these rallies go.
Thank you, Danielle, for that awesome introduction. Like she said, my name is Ryan Bennett. I'm a proud journeyman steam fitter and welder, and I'm a damn proud union member of UA Local 174. Last decade, I've had the honor to be in leadership of my local union. I'm proud to say that I represent 1,200 of the finest plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC service techs in this country. My dad was a leader in my very same local union, and he went on to serve 6 years in the Michigan State Legislature. My mom was a union steward for the food service workers, orchard schools. My sisters and I attended, so represent workers is pretty much the closest thing we got to a family business. And look, I'm really proud of the labor movement, and it's regaining popularity amongst younger workers, and that's great to see.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's no quicker path to the middle class than a united workforce, a collectively bargained agreement. I gotta tell you, I'm getting a little tired. I'm getting tired of working class voters voting for billionaires because they don't feel represented by the Democratic Party anymore. I'm getting tired of old heads with all the money in this country using any blip in the economy to raise prices and to stagnate wages. Of the middle class continuing to shrink, for that American dream becoming further out of reach, even though the American workforce has never been more productive than it is right now. I'm getting tired of politicos and pundits telling me who won't get elected because of how they look, who they love, and how they worship. Candidates running for office saying once they get to Washington, D.C., they're going to change things only to have Washington, D.C. change them. It doesn't have to be this way, right? But look, change isn't easy. It takes hard work, and we can't just continue to maintain the status quo. We have to dig in, and we have to fight. We need grassroots organizing. We got less golf coming here on your Saturday. Give yourself a We need grassroots organizing, but we need elected officials in D.C. that are ready to lock arms and stand on that front line and demand change. We need fighters. So I first met our next speaker when he ran for governor back in the day, and I tell you what, I was immediately impressed. He's articulate, he's compassionate, and he's unafraid. He and I served together on Team Bernie back in 2019, and I know that he will be the fighter that we need in D.C. Look, y'all, if Bernie Sanders is out here at 83 years young, ready to get in this fight, we damn sure better be in this fight too. Kalamazoo, you fired up? So can we just give one more huge round of applause for our union leaders, Danielle Julard? So I just want to know who I'm speaking to today. Let me just ask a couple questions. Who here believes in people over profit? Let me hear you. Who believes in the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, not of the corporations, by the corporations, for the corporations? And who here knows that when we fight, we win? I must be in Kalamazoo, huh? I am Abdul El-Sayed. You know and I know, I've got a perfect name for U.S. politics.
Yep, no problems.
My name might be different, but so are my ideas. And so is the vision, because I'm focused on people. My name might be different, but so is our vision because we are focused on the people. And that's why we're here with a certain Senator Bernie Sanders. He knows, he understands that we need more people willing to stand up to power without fear. Different name, different kind of leader. Now look, my dad, Muhammad, he took a bet on the country, this country, back in 1978. He took a bet on America where it shouldn't matter what your name is or how you pray, or if you pray at all, or where your folks come from, or who you love, or how you identify. He took a bet on an America that is big enough for all of us. I'm letting my stepmom Jack, daughter of the American Revolution, from about an hour away from here, in the very heart of Michigan, Gratiot County. The thing they share in common, a love of science and engineering, and using their skills to help people. Growing up in that home, I knew from a pretty young age that I probably wasn't going to be anybody's engineer. I wanted to be a doctor. And let me explain why. See, on late summer days like this, I often find myself in a cottage on a lake in the heart of Michigan. But that was after spending so much of my summer in Egypt. As a teenager, I get shipped off to Alexandria, where my father was raised in a one-bedroom apartment just a stone's throw from a fish market where his father sold vegetables. His mother, my Tita Saad, was the wisest, most intelligent person I have ever met. She never got to high school. She raised 6 kids in a one-bedroom apartment of 8 to whom she gave birth. 2 of them passed before their first birthdays. There were an aunt and uncle I never got to meet. Siblings my father lost before he turned 5. I spent most of my time in Egypt with my Teta Saad, and though she never got to go to school, hers was the school of life, where she learned about the moral lessons that even the most studied folks too often fail to learn. You can imagine me walking into that apartment with my hat backwards with my American kid swagger, and she's sitting me down. I mean, right here. You can imagine, points to one of my cousins, that one is smarter than me. Points to the next one, I'm not going to tell you, he's taller and better looking. Points to a third one, nicer, kind of harder. 4th one's more athletic. 5th one works harder than you. By the end of it, I'm like a puddle on the floor with a hat. By the end of this, I'm like, Tita, what do I have going for me? She's like, Habib, you have the best thing of all. I was like, what's that? You get to go back to America at the end of the summer.
be about opportunity. You can imagine, with that name, people like to question my love for this country. But trust me, no one loves their country like a kid who saw what his life might have been without it. So make no mistake, I love America. I know exactly what America is. Vaccinated against diseases that killed my aunt and uncle, incredible public schools. I'm a Michigan kid, football captain, lacrosse team event. I even got my med school paid for by a public agency, the NIH. But I love America enough to call her to be Bennett. Summer trips, it would take me 15 hours to get to Egypt. And in those 15 hours, I would travel about 10 years difference in life expectancy. But I didn't have to go 15 hours to travel that gap. I could go just 15 minutes from where I grew up in Oakland County, and I could travel the same 10-year life expectancy. And here's the thing, I can never explain why kids growing up just a short car ride from me, whose families have been here far longer than mine, never got those same opportunities. I became a doctor to help people. Doctors ask two questions. What's wrong, and how can I help? What's wrong? Big corporations making money off illness. Our systems put profits over people. I learned pretty early in my med school career that the answers to what was wrong had a lot less to do with all that physiology I spent all that time studying, and a lot more to do with pathologies in our politics. Do you get to breathe clean air? Do you get to drink clean water? Do you get to walk in your local community without being victimized by a neighbor or the state itself? Can you afford the groceries that have the micronutrients that will grow your brain, or just the ones that have the macronutrients that grow a belly? Can you even see a doctor in the first place without having to worry about falling into medical debt? And as I kept in a hospital, so I followed it back out. I've worked to heal our broken system. When politicians broke Detroit's health department, I rebuilt it. They shut down. They shut down a 185-year-old health department in a city with a higher infant mortality rate than my father's native Egypt. A city where our children face threefold the probability of asthma hospitalizations and fourfold the probability of lead exposure. Shut it down. I was hired to rebuild it around the well-being of kids. We realized that 30% of our kids who tested positive for vision deficits would come back testing positive again next year. I mean, we knew they needed glasses, and we didn't get them a pair of glasses. So we put optometrists on vans at schools so that when kids got tested, they got their full exam, and we could ship them a free pair of glasses within 2 weeks. So we got them on the path to being lead-free. And I got to work with folks like Dr. Mona, who broke the Flint water crisis, to help people like America, the biggest polluter and the most polluted zip code in the entire state, wanted to raise their emissions, despite the fact that the EPA had said that there was already too much sulfur dioxide in the air. We organized. We stood up, and collectively, with the local community, we forced them to invest $10 million of their own money to reduce their emissions when they had initially applied to should have to go bankrupt over medical debt. In fact, medical debt shouldn't exist.
Doors over there.
That's a tax cut for billionaires, and he's forcing our children and our children's children to pay for it in the form of $3.5 billion expansion of the federal debt. And that's the way he's letting RFK Jr. run amok on the federal public health agencies. In case it's not obvious, you probably should put a guy who goes swimming in Schitt's Creek over the face. Trump is not serious about protecting American manufacturing. He's serious about using us. Trump only cares about CEOs who bend the knee for sweetheart deals, while the rest of us suffer through the inflation he's making worse. So look, we've got to stand up to Donald Trump. As a kid named Abdul, you can imagine I've met my fair share of bullies. And you can go ask them how that went. I got my feet going. Too many Democrats tell you they're fighting only to show up with a strongly worded letter. We need Democrats who have the courage to stand up to the power brokers in our own party, let alone Trump and his people. Taking on the corporations and billionaires and oligarchs without standing down, without giving an inch. It's about doing what's right every time because we work for the people. I've been at this now for about 10 years, and I've taken on big corporations, big insurance, big pharma, big everything. And I've even taken on our own party when they're wrong. And they'll lie about us. We say that again. The billionaires will lie about us and try and stop us. But it won't work. They attack anyone who wants to take on the powerful. They attack anyone who wants to fight for the people. They attack anyone who wants to change anything. Just ask Bert. But we can stand up to their attacks together and take on the oligarchy. It's not just about what you fight against, it's about what you fight for. I see some familiar ones, and y'all might remember I ran for governor back in 2018. For all of you who supported us then. And I said something at the time, though, that folks weren't quite ready to hear, which is this. Trump himself is not the disease of our politics. Donald Trump is just the worst symptom of the disease of our politics. The disease is the rich system that allows corporations and billionaires to buy politicians to do their bidding. They collude to suppress our paycheck for the work we have to do for them and raise prices for the things we have to buy from them. It's the utilities who buy off politicians who avoid regulation while they maintain a monopoly. It's the health insurance companies who keep jacking up our we've got to make life easier for people, make it more affordable. We need to take on the corporations that take too much of our paychecks. We've got to put money back in our pockets. How do you do that? That means, say it again. She said, we've got to rebuild the federal trade commission under folks like Linda Khan to bust the trust again. We've got to make it easy to form a union like our union siblings you just heard from across any sector of our economy. To make America the best single place to build and scale a small business in the world. Number 3, in the richest, most powerful country in the world, medical debt should not exist, healthcare must be guaranteed, so we have to get on to the work of abolishing medical debt and finally passing Medicare for all.
Do it anyway.
It's on me, right? It's a whisper campaign. But here's the thing. This election is not actually about me or my neighbor, all right? It's not even about just one sentence. This election is about whether or not we together are willing to take that same bet my dad took almost 50 years ago. A bet on this country, a bet on each other. Are we willing to reach across the divides they tell us that we can't cross? Are we willing to reach across geography and race and ethnicity and faith and gender and identity to build the kind of America we all need and deserve? I've been in your union halls, your coffee shops, your living rooms, and your ice cream parlors. I particularly enjoyed ice cream parlors.
I like it. That's the move.
Folks tell me the same
Yeah, I
thing.
like him.
It just shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard to afford that second gallon of milk or that second carton of eggs. It shouldn't be this hard to work the same job tomorrow that I worked yesterday and no one's going to be there for me tomorrow. It shouldn't be this hard to ever dream of owning a home if you're under 40 or keep my home if I'm over 65. It should not be this hard to see a doctor or know you're not going to fall into medical debt if you do. It just shouldn't be this hard. So when they tell you I can't win, don't look at me. Look at each other. Look at each other. Look at all of us, people from all over the state who've spent far too long being locked out of our own politics. They've locked us out by keeping us apart, by telling us that we can't reach across our divides, that we cannot see eye to eye with people who may look or pray or think differently than we do. But all of us who've got to go to work again on Monday know that when that alarm strikes, it's calling us to the same toilet. And it shouldn't be this hard to afford basic means of a dignified life when we come home. In Kalamazoo, we can't have nice things. All right? But only together. So here now, I'm calling on all of us to reach together for those things, to hold each other in the work and in the toil, to believe in the kind of America we can build together, to believe in each other. If we do that, not only will we win this race, Kalamazoo, but we'll win the future we deserve. I'm Abdul El-Sayed, and I'm running for U.S. Senator.
Okay, not bad. Pretty decent. All right, not bad.
You don't strike me as a very good liar. I was like, I'm not. He's like, good. In this business, you're either very good at lying or withholding the truth, or very good at telling it. And this is a man who's been telling the truth now for longer than I've been alive.
Facts.
He's been telling the truth since he was a student activist on campus. He But I couldn't ask for a better mentor, a better friend, and a better leader in politics. And honestly, I cannot wait to serve alongside a living legend. So my friends, Kalamazoo, let's bring up the OG himself, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Kalamazoo. Should be Abdul. We need him in the Senate now. The truth is, I love you too. The truth is, I'm here for a very selfish reason, all right? I get lonely in the U.S. Senate. I need some friends. I need some voices in the Senate who are going to stand up for working class people, for economic justice, for racial justice, for social justice. We need Abdul El-Sayed in the Senate. What I want to do this evening, in addition to urging you to elect Abdul, is to beg of you in this unprecedented and difficult moment in American history to go outside of your comfort zone and to think outside of the box. If there was ever a time in the modern history of this country when the American people had to stand up and take on, and I'll give you some good news there, I've been all over this country, and what I can tell you in rural areas and in urban areas, the American people will not tolerate oligarchy. Will not tolerate authoritarianism. Will not tolerate kleptocracy. Will not tolerate the continued war against the working class of this country. About what you're not going to see on your corporately owned TV networks or in your corporately owned United States Congress. So let's talk about reality. Let's talk about what's going on in the lives of working people in Michigan, in Vermont, and all over this country. And here is the truth. Not a pleasant truth, but it's a truth that the establishment does not want to be discussed, which is precisely why we have got to discuss it. In America today, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of the United States of America. And it is an obscene level of inequality. And what I'm going to tell you, one of the things that the establishment does, and what media does, and what the culture that the oligarchs create does, is they tell us what we should be outraged at and what we should accept or think it's not a big deal. Right? Well, I happen to think that it is a very big deal, that it is a moral and economic outrage that one person in this country, Mr. Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. That is an obscenity. That is not what this country is supposed to be about. But it's not just Mr. Musk. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. CEOs of large corporations making over 350 times what their workers are making. So, in other words, point one. Today, the 1%, the people on top, have never, ever had it so good. That's reality number one. Number two, it's not just that we're looking at massive income and wealth inequality. These guys have enormous economic power. What does that mean? It means that in sector after sector of our economy, whether it is agriculture, whether it's financial services, whether it's transportation, you name it, a handful of giant corporations control that sector and determine the prices that you pay. And if you think one of the amazing things, you can go Google it, is that many of these large corporations that you're familiar with, whether it's Apple or General Motors or whatever it may be, they are themselves owned by entities larger than them. So you got a handful of gigantic Wall Street firms like Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, that are the major stockholders in over 95% of American corporations. A handful of major Wall Street firms have enormous power over the economy. But it's not just income and wealth inequality. It's not just concentration of ownership that they have. They also own what you see, hear, and read.
Yes.
You got 6 major international media conglomerates that control what 90% of the people see, hear, and read. And it's not just the traditional media, the ABC, CBS, etc. It is the internet as well. Look who owns. Look who owns Twitter, X, what used to be Twitter. That's Mr. Musk. Who owns Meta? That's Mr. Zuckerberg. Who owns the Washington Post? That is Mr. Bezos. And Mr. Ellison, one of the wealthiest people in the world right now, recently took over Paramount, which owns CBS. So these guys have enormous media power. And every day you are seeing their perspective. They are discussing the issues they think are important, not discussing the issues that may be important to your life. But it's not just income, wealth, inequality, concentration, ownership, and the fact that they own the media. They also own a corrupt campaign finance system. But there is no political issue of greater importance than the need to overturn this disastrous Citizens United to be Let me give you just a couple of examples of how Citizens United and big money is undermining American democracy. Elon Musk spent $270 million to help elect Donald Trump to become president. And his reward was that for a period of time, he was allowed to be the most important person in the United States government. He was allowed to implement his right-wing extremist ideology, which meant firing tens of thousands of federal employees, including scientists who are doing important work trying to understand disease, proposing to fire over 80,000 employees at the Veterans Administration. A real way to say thank you to the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us. Firing thousands of workers at the Social Security Administration. Breaking the federal unions. So, if any of you want to become an important person in government, all you have to do is find a candidate, raise $270 million a year in business. But between you and me, I don't think that that is what democracy is supposed to be about. Another example. As part of his love of the oligarchy, Donald Trump and his Republican friends gave us the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. In my view, that bill is the most dangerous piece of legislation passed in the modern history of the United States. It is a vulgar piece of legislation, and anyone who voted for that bill should not be returned to office. That bill gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%, $900 billion in tax breaks to large, profitable corporations. Now that is vulgar, but what is even more vulgar is that in order to pay for those huge tax breaks, they cut Medicaid by $1 trillion and cut the Affordable Care Act, the result being that some 15 million Americans are going to lose the health care that they have. Including hundreds of thousands right here in Michigan. So you got one reality, people on top, enormously powerful, doing extraordinarily well, controlling the political system, getting huge tax breaks. And then there is another reality. And that reality is that in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, today, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. Many of you are in families living paycheck to paycheck. And what living paycheck to paycheck is about is every day undergoing the stress of wondering how you're going to feed your kids, pay the rent, go to the doctor if somebody gets sick, and wondering, maybe, when you get old, will you be able to have a few bucks in the bank so you can enjoy some kind of security in your old age? And every single day, tens of millions of families are struggling with that stress and with that reality. And you know what that stress does to people? It kills them. Now, what you don't hear much about is that in America today, despite the fact that we're the wealthiest country on earth, our life expectancy, how long we live, is 4 years on average shorter than in other wealthy countries around the world. That is a shame. But I'll tell you what is even more shameful, and you don't know this because you never hear about it. If you are working class in this country, you will live 7 years shorter lives than the wealthy. In other words, the stress that the working class and lower income Americans are dealing is actually killing people all across this country who are struggling to survive. And in the richest country on earth, that should not be happening. Our job, it seems to me, is to do what the American people want us to do. And that is to take on Trump every step of the way. But we have got to do more than that. What we need to have, which we don't have, and certainly Republicans don't have it, is they move lockstep into authoritarianism, and the Democrats don't have it because they are also controlled by big money. What we need is a vision for America that works for working people, not just the 1%. The point that I want to make, let me make this over and over again, I hope I drum it into people's brains, is in this country, the richest country on earth, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. Now, if we were sitting in a poor country, if you're in Haiti, in a poor country, and I would tell you all the things that I think should happen, people say, Bernie, we can't do it. We're a poor country. We are not a poor country. And it's time to start thinking big, not small. And politicians come before you, and they tell you all the things that we can't do. You tell them that in fact we can, and in fact many of the things I'm going to be talking about are being done all over the world. How many of you know that there's only one major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people as a human right? You're living in it. Now think about it. In this country we have so many brilliant people, so much wealth. How in God's name do we spend more than twice as much per capita on health care as the people in other countries? And yet 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. And by the way, one of the reasons you got to elect Abdul is he wrote a book on that subject. Healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. Whose function is to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. That's the choice we have to make. Let me get into another area. Well, I would suggest to think big, but it's really not big. Everybody in this room knows, and we're here at a major university, great university, that we live in a competitive global economy, right? The future is not ours unless we have the best educated workforce in the world. Democracy does not thrive unless you have a well-educated public and critical thinking. countries understand that when they look to their future, they're looking to their kids, their young people. And I get a little bit tired of seeing politicians standing in front of the flag telling their constituents how much they love America. Well, if you love America, you love the children in America. Having the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Every child psychologist in the world will tell you that 0 through 4 are the most important years of human development, intellectually and emotionally. So if that is a reality, why do we have a broken and dysfunctional and unaffordable child care system? Why are child care workers in some cases paid more than McDonald's workers? Why do we have an education system where in my state, in rural areas, and this is true all over the country, starting teachers often with student debt start off at salaries of $40,000, $42,000 a year. Why is it? Why is it? This is really quite amazing. 60 or 70 years ago in America, believe it or not, major colleges and universities were tuition free. How in hell's name have we reverted over 60 or 70 years to a situation where kids are graduating college $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in debt? We desperately need doctors and nurses and dentists. You know what doctors are graduating medical school at? Anyone know? $500,000 in debt. That is why, among other things, I brought forth legislation that would make medical school and nursing school and dental school tuition free. But in addition to that, as some of you may know, the oligarchs want it all. And among other things, they want to destroy public education in America and privatize it.
That's right.
Our job is to strengthen public education. And one of the ways to do it is by paying our teachers a living wage and receiving
Yes, please.
Because I believe in the importance of educating our children. I want education to be prioritized in this country, to be appreciated in this country.
Yes.
Trump and his friends want to destroy higher education. I want to make public colleges and universities tuition free. Healthcare system clearly broken. Educational system, childcare dysfunctional, kids going in debt to get a higher education, public schools struggling with inadequate resources. Then take a look at another basic necessity of life. So you got healthcare as a basic necessity, education, I think, is a basic necessity, housing is a basic necessity. Broken, and you go to housing. system which is totally broken. In America today, again, one of the things we get used to these things, but there's some 800,000 Americans now who are homeless, including a number of people who are actually working. They're going to their jobs and they're sleeping in their cars, or God knows where, in a shelter. All right? On top of that, you got some 20 million households who are spending at least 50% of their limited incomes on housing. Got it? So if you're spending 50% of your income on housing, what the hell do you have left over, right? Nothing. All right. So maybe, just maybe, instead of providing the military with $1 trillion a year, maybe we build 5 million units of low-income. We have millions of workers who are working for starvation wages. And one of the great embarrassments in Washington right now is that we have not raised the minimum wage for a very long time. It stands, if you can believe it, at $7.25 an hour. I used to say that if you work 40 hours a week in America, you're not living in poverty. Raise that federal minimum wage to at least $17 an hour. Join unions today. Michigan is one of the great union states in great union history right here. Right now, many workers who would like to join unions cannot do that because of the illegal behavior of their corporate bosses. That's why we've got to pass the PRO Act to punish companies that act illegally when workers are that do not guarantee paid family and medical leave. We are one of them. Every worker in this country should not have to make the choice of staying home with a sick kid or not going to work and getting fired. One of the things that I learned as the former chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee, is that in America today, it's not just we treat our children shamefully, we treat our seniors shamefully as well. And as a society where seniors are the people who built the economy, defended us in war, they are our parents, they are our grandparents. You don't just shuffle them off to some nursing home. What we have got to do is create a system which treats the elderly in their retirement years with the respect and the dignity they have earned. It means right now 22% of seniors are trying to survive, I don't know how they do it, on $15,000 a year. Got it? You got half of seniors trying to get by on $30,000 a year or less. And then you got some Republicans out there who are saying, well, we should cut Social Security. Well, I've got a very different idea. No, we're not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand. Social Security. Lift that cap, we can significantly increase benefits and expand the solvency, extend the solvency of Social Security for decades. So I say all of these things in this much more clearly climate remains a huge issue. You got a president of the United States who insanely thinks that climate change is a hoax. You and I know that it is an existential threat to our climate. Millions of good-paying jobs transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel, working with countries all over the world.
Yeah.
When I say all of these things, and there's a lot more I haven't unearthed, but the main point that I want to make to you, two main points. Number one, everything that I have told you is not radical.
No.
Now, people out
Not
there
even close.
are critics, the Republicans, some Democrats, well, you know, this is really radical stuff. It's not part of mainstream. It's communism, whatever it may be. But what I want you to know is, A, much of what I'm talking about already exists in other countries around the world.
Right.
Yep, that's it.
And number two, that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, this is all achievable. We can do this.
Yes.
It's not just domestic issues that we've got to focus on. We have to take a very hard look at what we are doing in terms of foreign policy. I am proud to tell you that I have led the effort in the United States Senate to end all military aid to the Netanyahu government. The oligarchs are currently spending hundreds of billions of dollars in AI and robotics. Now, let me ask you a question. I want an honest answer. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. How many people think, as presently constituted, AI and robotics will improve life for ordinary people? How many people think that it will hurt ordinary people? That's the response I've been getting in a lot of places. Here's what we should know. In 50 years ago or so, with the development of all kinds of new technology, including cell phones, including computers, including flat screen TVs, all of this stuff, you would think, it's an interesting point, you would think that the American people say, wow, life is getting better. All right, let me ask you another question. Pew Research, they're quite a reputable research company, they did a poll a few years ago. And this is the question they asked the American people. I'm going to ask it you. Again, don't tell me what I want to hear. The question was, do you believe that somebody in your position, somebody whose life is like yours, middle class, lower, upper class, what do you think? Do you think life was better 50 years ago for that person, or life is better today? Well, what do you guys think? Was life better 50 years ago, or life better? Raise your hand if you think life was better, is better today. Okay. Raise your hand if you think life was better 50 years ago. That is a very good point. So what we have, here's the point. Clearly, from our perspective, there have been positive changes. 50 years ago, we didn't have women governors.
That's why you raised my hand.
In Congress, you have women doing all kinds of jobs. We still have racism rampant in the United States. Gay rights was at a very low level. So in those areas, life is in fact better. You're black today, go out and get a job that you couldn't have gotten 50 years ago. If you're a woman, you get a job you could not have gotten. Life is better. But on the other hand, there is a reason why 60% of the people in that poll said, no, I think life might have been better 50 years ago. And that has to do with sense of community. The sense that we are losing something. The sense that what we need out of human life is just human beings, the companionship, the love, the community that we need to thrive, that our kids need to thrive. We are losing that.
Yeah.
And I'm worrying very, very much. There's an expression you're all familiar with, and that is, the operation was a success, but the patient died. Right? You're familiar with that? And that's what I feel. The system today is a great success. We got all kinds of technology. We do all kinds of great things. Unfortunately, it ain't working for ordinary people. So our job is to say to the oligarchs, as we take them on and defeat them, that you cannot determine our future for us. Water and electricity and energy. So people's electric bills are going to go up. To pay for AI, they're going to go out and get a job, and it's not going to be there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So we're looking at environmental issues in terms of AI. You're looking at the loss of jobs, and I worry very, very much about kids in schools and critical thinking, and whether or not kids will be learning that in their life. Conclude for the third time. This is my final and absolute conclusion. These are tough times for the country. At the very least, we need to elect strong members to Congress who have the guts to stand up for working people, stand up for decency, and are prepared to take on oligarchy. Abdul El-Sayed is one of those people. Please